I was standing in the hallway when my wife said it. "I'm divorcing him," she told her mother over the phone, her voice sharp and disgusted. "I can't live on his pathetic salary anymore." The word pathetic echoed down the hallway like a slap. She didn't know I was home. I stood there quietly, holding the grocery bag in my hand, listening as she laughed with her mother about how she'd wasted 5 years of her life. 5 years. Funny how people can summarize a marriage in a single sentence. I didn't walk into the room. I didn't interrupt. I just stood there and listened. That was the moment I agreed to everything. 5 years earlier, I met her in a bookstore. She was sitting on the floor in the finance section, surrounded by books she clearly wasn't going to buy. Her hair kept falling into her face and she kept blowing it away in frustration. I remember laughing. She looked up and smiled like she'd been waiting for someone to notice her. Back then, she loved the fact that I was responsible. Her word. I worked long hours, saved money, avoided debt, planned for the future. She called it stability, said it made her feel safe. When we got married, she told everyone she'd found a man who knew how to build a life. But somewhere along the way, stability became boring. Responsible became cheap. And the man who was building a future became the husband with a pathetic salary. The change didn't happen overnight. It started small. She stopped asking about my day. Then she stopped eating dinner with me. Then she started going out more. New friends. Late nights. Expensive restaurants. When I asked about it, she said the same thing every time. You wouldn't understand. Maybe she was right. But I understood patterns. And the pattern told me something was wrong. One night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she showered. It buzzed. I didn't plan to look, but the screen lit up with a message preview. "Miss you already. Tonight was perfect." No name, just a heart emoji. I didn't open the message. I didn't need to. Instead, I put the phone back exactly where it was and sat down at the kitchen table. That was the moment everything became clear. Not the affair. The disrespect. The assumption that I was too blind or too weak to notice. She thought she was leaving a fool. That was her first mistake. After that night, I stopped reacting. I stopped asking questions. I became calm, quiet, predictable. The husband she already believed I was. But behind that calm, I started planning. You see, my pathetic salary was only part of the story. Yes, I worked a modest job. Yes, my paychecks looked unimpressive. But what she never cared enough to learn was why. 5 years earlier, before we even met, I sold a tech startup. Not for billions, but enough. Enough to make sure I never had to chase money again. The sale agreement came with one condition, a strict non-compete clause. 5 years. And that clock had just expired. When she filed for divorce 2 weeks later, I didn't argue. Her lawyer sent a list of demands. The house. The car. Most of our shared savings. And spousal support based on my income. I read the document once. Then I signed it. No negotiation. No resistance. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. "You're sure about this?" I smiled. "Absolutely." Because the day after the divorce papers were finalized, I signed something else. A new contract. CEO. My new company. Backed by investors who had been waiting for my non-compete to expire. Within 2 weeks, the company valuation crossed 8 figures. Within 3, it hit 9. A month after the divorce, I was sitting in my office when my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. "Mr. Carter?" The voice sounded tense. "Yes. This is Daniel Hughes, your ex-wife's attorney." Interesting. I was hoping to clarify something. His voice was shaking now. "Why didn't you disclose ownership of Carter Dynamics during the divorce proceedings?" I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window at the city skyline. "Because," I said calmly, "I didn't own it during the divorce." Silence, heavy, realization spreading on the other end. "You launched the company after the settlement." "That's correct." Another pause. Then he asked the question I'd been waiting for. "Your net worth is now?" 9 figures, I said. He exhaled slowly. "I need to make a call." "Yes," I replied softly. "You probably do." 2 days later, she showed up at my office, unannounced. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Less confident. "I didn't know," she said the moment she walked in. Of course she didn't. She never asked. "You tricked me," she added. I tilted my head. "No," I said calmly. "You made a decision based on what you believed I was worth." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You chose freedom over my pathetic salary. I folded my hands on the desk. And I agreed to every term. Her voice cracked. We could fix this. That was the moment I felt it. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just clarity. No, I said quietly. We can't. Because revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about letting them live with the choices they made. She left my office 10 minutes later. No shouting. No drama. Just silence. And as the door closed behind her, I realized something unexpected. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. Because the truth is, the best revenge isn't proving someone wrong. It's letting them realize they walked away from everything.